Chapter 12 of Psychopomp Drive. Written by Janeen Leese-Taylor. Read aloud by SkyAsimaru. Chapter 12. Its name is Destroyer. The atmosphere in the living room was tense, the air so thick it could be cut. Like a string pulled taut, something amongst the people gathered there felt ready to snap. Before them, the cat-shaped Grim paced back and forth on one spot, wearing out the floorboards with his worried footsteps.
I don't get how something like this could have gone unnoticed for so long,
the American John States Anderson remarked with a frown. He stood at the front of the group, leaning his weight on the tabletop. He shook his head, his brow furrowing in contemplation, as one enormous hand rubbed at his face.
You're telling us that none of the other patrol parties suspected a damn thing?
Saulo paused, his tail moving through the air with a frustrated edge.
It was actually Karan who first brought the new hollow to our attention. There were reports that his workers had witnessed an anomaly while out gathering lost souls.
What does that even mean? Finley asked with a frown. He was leaning against the back of the sofa, his hands holding the points on either side of his hips for balance. Sassy lay by his feet, still wet with morning dew. Occasionally she would flicker with light, a clear sign that she was listening in on the conversation. Saulo's bright eyes turned at the sound of the young Amarini's voice.
From what we know, the other hollows are attracted to the energy that the destroyer puts out, in the same way carrion feeders follow after a larger predator, he stated. The Grims that work under Karen were bringing souls back to Psychopomp Drive when they noticed increasing numbers of whisperers and corruptors grouping together, something that rarely occurs outside of mass shootings or domestic terrorism.
And what does this destroyer thing actually look like? Abby's voice pipped up from her place on the plush armchair. She leaned over the back of it, her head resting on her folded arms. We talking something dark and swirly, or?
The hollow doesn't appear to look or behave like the others we have come across,
Saulo continued.
It doesn't adhere to a particular shape or form. It won't be something we can take on our own.
Finley's ears perked up high on his head. An action that he had come to realize happened whenever he was nervous. He pushed off the back of the sofa with both hands to stand.
Are you saying that it's more dangerous than a regular hollow? The victim inside appears to be fully cognizant of their actions.
Silence weighed heavily on the room's occupants, pressing down like gravity. Finley felt the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. His whole body was wired, electrically charged, and he felt adrenaline buzz along his spinal column.
It is a veil?
Reichardt questioned softly. The light from the room's lamps made his glasses glisten as he turned his head.
Whisperers and corruptors behave like animals,
the youngest member of the group, Spectre, commented, perching on the second love seat and swinging his legs. They didn't quite reach the floor.
They're made of sadness and anger. The destroyer is still a person. She chooses how to feel, how to act.
She? Abby repeated. Finley glanced her way, and she met his eyes before she turned to look toward Spectre again. You called it a she! Spectre tilted his head.
That's because it is a she,
he answered, seemingly confused by the query.
Karen believes that the hollow was created by something other than a lost soul,
Saulo carried on, hopping up onto the back of the sofa to join the other spirits.
Something more powerful that was able to retain her cognitive abilities. Something like a goddess.
My stars, Micah breathed. She reached up a hand to clutch the cross on the necklace at her chest, swallowing against the press of her folded knuckles. Beside her, Scrappy adjusted their dark shades, running a hand through their bright, cropped hair.
You mean the rumors we've been hearing? They're true?
Wait, what rumors? Finley piped up. Reichart moved his weight from one hip to the other.
Some of the spirits have claimed that one of the guardians of the gate has gone missing.
There, can you let me acid lid?
Alvaro remarked, flopping back into the oak kitchen chair again.
If even the higher-ups aren't immune, what chance do the little imps have?
A clank from behind them attracted their attention for a moment, as Micah placed some of the clean dishes into the drying rack. Finley watched the pale white suds slowly making their way down the ceramic, the golden light reflecting off the bubbles of washing-up liquid that clung to the plate's curve. The woman dried her hands, hiding the way they trembled inside the checked red and white cloth. Finley had noticed before that the woman liked to keep herself busy with mundane chores whenever she was nervous, and she had already cleaned their makeshift home from top to bottom.
"Are you all right?"
Saulo asked her, his tone gentle. The woman covered her hands with the drying cloth again.
"I'm all right,"
she breathed, settling down into the seat next to States at the table. He reached a hand across to rest it on her arm, and she offered him a tiny smile. Reichart drummed a rhythm onto the arm of the sofa beside him.
"So, we know that it is intelligent," he started thoughtfully. "We have also learned that it is a single entity, unable to replicate itself. So far, we have not been able to ascertain its motives,"
Saulo continued,
"nor what it is fully capable of."
"Are the humans going to be at risk?"
Scrappy questioned without looking up.
If so, we may need to increase patrols, just until we understand this thing better.
"This leads me on to my next point,"
Saulo said, retracting his claws from where he had been kneading the material.
"From now on, patrols will have no less than 4 of you heading out at one time. Reapers must be kept on your person at all times, and you will be working closely with the other Amarini in the underground."
The Grimm's purple eyes narrowed in the direction of the front door.
"If found to be required, we will assign a god to each party. We will be prioritizing residential zones within the city and reporting back on all our findings."
Finley's fingers brushed against the handle of his battle axe, and Sassy hummed, sending warmth blossoming into his fingertips.
"Count us both in,"
he volunteered. Reichart leaned forward to rest both elbows on his knees, tenting his hands.
"What will we do if the Destroyer decides to come for the rivers?"
Saulo exhaled something that, coming from a human, might have sounded like a sigh.
"We can only hope that it does not come to that."
Scrappy pushed the blue waves back from their face.
"And if it does?"
they asked.
"Then we are going to need every soul available to fight it,"
Saulo finished. Despite their previous conversation, the last patrol of the night went as smoothly as any of them could have hoped. No whisperers brought jumpers to the bridge. No corruptors made a happily married man kill his partner over a burnt meal. The night was calm, the air pleasantly warm like a blanket as it settled around Finley's shoulders. He watched the water fountain as it opened up for them, like it always did, and he hung back, choosing to admire the stars overhead as they twinkled and danced against the last of the black sky, rather than head inside again. He sensed more than saw movement at his shoulder, and he tilted his head back to greet the much taller man who had come to join him. He noted the clicking of a lighter as Reichardt brought both hands up to cup the end of his cigarette, the dim glow of the embers illuminating his face. He inhaled and pulled the stick from between his lips, letting the breath out slowly to rise up over their heads towards the street lights.
"Punny for your salts?"
he inquired softly. His accent was always stronger whenever he smoked, the consonants deepening as the slightly minty taste of the menthol cigarettes filled his lungs. Finley sniffed, turning his face away. He had never been the biggest fan of smoking. His improved sense of hearing picked up the sound of the other Amarini shuffling closer, and he sucked on his teeth thoughtfully, trying to get a grip on the words he wanted to express. Finley knew that he was in safe company. Reichardt had more than proven himself dependable. Despite this, Finley felt nerves gathering in the pit of his stomach as he whispered,
"I need to see her, Reich."
He could feel the other man's stare as it burned a hole into the back of his head. He took another breath in to settle his nerves and continued,
"With those things out there, I just need to know that she's safe before they assign a god to us."
He listened as the man next to him exhaled another reflective cloud of smoke into the night air. Somewhere in his mind he was mulling over the words, coming to a decision. Finley was under no illusion where the man's mind might take him, and ground his teeth, bracing for the impact.
"All right."
Finley spun towards the other spirit and coughed at the unexpected surge of smoke as it hit the back of his throat. Tears burned his eyes as he waved a hand to clear the air.
"All right?"
He searched the man's face for answers. As always, Reichardt Griffith's expression gave little away of the thoughts going on within. The man brought the underside of his shoe up and extinguished the remainders of his cigarette against the sole without making eye contact.
"Meet me here in 1 hour after the others have retired for the evening."
And with that, the man turned away from him, making his way towards the tiled entranceway of Psychopomp Drive. He disappeared down into the deep blackness without looking back, and Finley clenched his hands into fists by his side, trying to keep them from shaking. To be continued in Chapter 13.